couple inches up for the initial pour.
So yeah, last night I sold a bottle of The Prisoner and it was like 5 people, which would be a bottle.
Yeah.
But I got to the end and I still had like
that's
probably like a
perfect.
third. But I said to her then, I said, well, I'd rather have some left for you than not enough.
And you
she
don't-
she said, oh, much
It's
appreciated.
when you don't have enough
Yes.
Right.
to
And you
do
don't,
the hose.
and you wouldn't even need to point that out. That was actually perfect. You always want to leave to me a little bit, so then you can keep pouring out to those who then need it, right?
Yeah.
So to always err on the side of safety, you don't want to run out. And if, like, let's say you had a table of 8 and they said, we'll take a bottle of Prisoner, I wouldn't be afraid to say, would you like 2? But they might say, nope, it's just for a little toast, or it's just for a meal, or something. And then, but you could try and upsell 2. But for 5 to 6 people, if they want one, I think it wouldn't be super pushy to say 2, but you can judge your table. Otherwise, just pour a little bit smaller and leave some left. If with a white wine, if you have 2 people and you pour out and you have this much left, it's appropriate for you to see if they'd like a wine chiller. Some people are saying, no, I don't need it. So you can ask the table if they'd like it. If you've poured out for 4 people and there's less than a third left, I wouldn't even offer a chiller, but that's up to you. But usually they know there's this much left, they're gonna drink and pour it out before it ever even has a chance to warm up. Now with outdoor tables, that'll be your judgment. You might wanna just bring it out there if it's hot outside. With red wine, obviously you don't need a chiller, but with red or white wine, you want to consistently be pouring. And I wrote here, because I think it's important. Well, you guys don't, I'll just read from it. You guys don't have to find it. But there is a certain rhythm to water and wine refills. They need to be handled with enough frequency that they feel taken care of, but not too much where you're like in their face. You don't need to top off every little bit. And you don't also have to top off every single person at the table. If literally just one person is done and all the rest still have this much, I know there's sometimes like you want to be fair, but that person's just drinking a little more, you're going to top them off. You don't have to always walk around, because it's going to get annoying for them, right? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
These people really like your
Okay.
position they're sharing.
Okay.
Can I say 2 things really quickly? One, you never pick the glass up off the table. Always stays on the table. And if you do need to move a glass, if you can't reach or something like that, just try to do it. Don't be touching it. Don't ever pick it up like this. Don't ever hold a wine glass like this ever, because your hand's getting all over it and it's dirty and you're going to warm it up. That's why even if you have the carafes and you're taking it to the table for glass pours, please use a tray so you're not warming up the wine. And then this has only happened a couple times here, but sometimes people want they ask where we're keeping our wine and they want us to maybe put, I think it was a Pinot Noir, someone wanted it on ice for a little bit.
It was the Cabernet.
The Cabernet. So there are certain temperature ranges that wine are served best in, so sometimes people...
So, really the lighter body the red, the cooler the temperature, and the fuller body the white, the warmer the temperature. So really the lighter the body, the colder, right? So champagne and Sauvignon Blanc, icy cold. I mean, when I say icy cold, it's probably 46 to 50. But then they can go up, Chardonnay could be served a little bit warmer. Generally speaking, most people won't care that much about white wine. They'll usually want it colder, if anything, right? And we put ours in a cold fridge. At Cento, we hold ours at proper temp, and sometimes people don't think it's cold enough. So we should never run into a problem where our white wines don't feel cold enough. Our red wines, on the other hand, well, God, our kitchen's cold half the time anyway, so I really don't think we're ever going to run into a problem with it being too warm. And with Cabernet, that's a little bit weird because, but you wouldn't need to say that to a customer.
Is it supposed to be 83 degrees?
No, just standard room temperature. Cellar temperature is in the 60s. We have that cellar at Cento, and that's held between 58 and 62 for all the wine. But the so even the fuller bodied red wines are a little bit cool, but they're going to warm up to temp in a second. So ours might be a glass pour might be served a little bit warmer than I would like, but it's most people won't care. But if they do want you to chill it down, go for it. You could put it in the fridge, you could put it on ice, or you could just hold it in a wine chiller for a little bit, but I don't think you'd have to offer it.
Well, he was offended because he's where do you keep your Cabernet? And I said, well, behind the bar. And everybody at the table started laughing. And then I kind of started snickering, and he's like, that was a serious question. I'm like, oh, sir, I wasn't making light. I'm like, that is where we keep our wine.
Well,
you know?
well, here's the thing. We keep our wine. You can, we don't need to say like, you don't need to lie and say it's in a cellar, but you can
Right.
say it's in a dark, cool area downstairs because it is. You know, the
Okay.
lights are off almost all the time unless we walk down there. They're on a automatic, so they're stored correctly downstairs. Upstairs, they're back in the kitchen. I probably wouldn't be telling people that. I would just say we hold them at proper temperature in proper fashion.
In our
But
storage
glass
room.
pours would be kind of coming off of that. If it was a glass pour, it would be behind the bar. But all the rest, you know, people might ask that. People get really, sometimes they just want to feel important too for their customers. So just answer it the best you can. Probably
Well, I
as
didn't know
vaguely
that
as
until that
possible.
point. That's the thing. So I didn't know what he was talking about. Then,
Yeah.
Megan had Kyle chill it, and it was fine.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
what, I don't know if it's right or not, but because he wanted it pretty cold, is what it sounded like, so I spun it in ice water.
Sure.
Like to get it down, is that okay?
Yeah.
Like I dried the label off, made sure the label
Yep.
didn't get ruined, but.
Yeah, that's probably the quickest way
Okay.
to get it down to temp because the fridge is going to make the bottle feel cold, but probably not the contents, you know, for the amount of time that they need. So yeah, whatever you
Okay.
want to do. And I think anyone would appreciate that. But also, we're, you know, it'd be one thing if we had like $400 bottles of wine on here, but we have like a pretty approachably priced wine list, and I don't think there's, other than Delmonico's and Cento, there's very few places that actually have true like temperature controlled cellars in Madison. You know, in a bigger city, it would happen. Any other questions there, you guys? Okay, do you want me to go? You want me to show you this? Should I show you how to do it?
Yeah, show me.
You guys okay? I'm giving you my favorite wine keys.
We're getting wine keys?
They're a little
Fun.
clunky looking, but they
I
work
just bought
very
a
well.
pink one.
Awesome.
Huh?
I just bought a hot pink one on Amazon.
Well, then you
Just
keep
kidding.
this, and you get
You can open 2 bottles of wine at once.
Yeah.
Thank
Ooh,
you.
this is a nice one.
Yes, thank you.
Right?
You're welcome.
Do we all
Everybody
have
got
one?
one?
Do you want me, I guess we'll give more people if
That's
they come
fine.
in.
Yep. So these are, you know, you might want to practice with these a little bit. They're a little. This knife is amazing. That's why I like it so much. And you have to break in any wine key, you guys. So don't feel like, you know, you might want to practice with it a little bit. You don't have to use this. I just like them, and so I bought a few hundred of them one time when I had a meltdown. So I lost my wine key on the opening week of Cento, and I was so freaked out. I called Haskell's is a wine store in Minneapolis, downtown Minneapolis, and I got this key right before my somm exam. I liked it so much, and so I freaked out and called, and I was like, "How many do you have?" And they said 300, and I bought them all. I don't know why. I just had a total freak out. Okay, so okay, let me just show you. There's going to be a few things here that you may not have ever known, and I would love if you guys try and implant it in your brain and do it the way I'm showing you, because it is the true proper wine service. And actually, I don't even know if I did it up until I did some training, but so there's a few little steps here that might be a little bit different. So I'm going to try and go through it really slowly.
Do you want
Jen's done this
more
before.
glasses?
No, I'm just gonna show like presentation.
Just for wine, okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna act like Adrian ordered the wine. Sorry.
It's okay.
Surprise,
Or do you want me to
surprise.
grab the older vintage or you can open it?
No, there's
Okay.
other 2014s in there.
Oh, is there? Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay, so Adrian has ordered the wine for me. When it comes up at the bar, I'm gonna verify before you even bring it out that the vintage is the same one that's on the list, you guys. Because people think you're pulling a fast one if you show up and you just read them the vintage. That wasn't it. We try and, like last month, Jen went through all the vintages, but it's like we really kind of look at it very closely every month. So there will be some times where we get a vintage change and those vendors don't tell us, hey, 2014 came in. So you should just have a wine list up there, and when you sell a bottle, just quickly reference that because this is not right. Southern right now says 2013. We just got the 2014 vintage. So if you're like, oh shit, the wine list says 2013 and I just got a 2014, I would, before I even present to the table, just go back over to the customer and say, Miss, I noticed that the Southern Right was now a 2014 vintage. I'm so sorry, but will that still work for you? You know, or is that still appropriate? Most people will say, yeah, I don't care. But sometimes it'll matter. So you want to do it before you bring it back out. You know, just kind of subtly tell them. So when I go back out, I'm going to say 2014 Southern Rite Sauvignon Blanc, and I'm going to wait for her to say yes. You can use your serviette like this. At this point, you can either set it on the table or set it on your arm, okay, whatever you prefer. Then you're going to hold the bottle by the neck. I prefer that you always keep the label facing the customer, if at all possible, because I think a lot of you are probably used to twirling the bottle while you spinning the bottle, which if you feel like it's the only way you absolutely can do it, fine, but I'd like you to try and practice it my way too. So I'm going to be holding it to her. I'm going to take the wine key. I like to kind of bend my finger around it, and you guys can practice. Ask like Kyle, ask any bartender if they're opening wine bottles to practice if you want to. Use this like, I use the lower lip because I feel like it gives me a little bit more stability, but some people use the upper one. But I cut the lip with pressure and I spin, okay? So I'm never turning the bottle. I'm only turning my hand, okay? And you can make multiple passes around. That's completely okay. And you'll start to, maybe you start to serve one bottle all along, you know you only need 2 passes. Some, you know, that's a foil capsule, it's a little bit harder. I'd rather you do one extra pass around it to make sure you have an even, nice cut. Because you don't really want to be like, where it's like, you peel it and the whole label comes all the way off. Okay, so I made a few passes. It's okay to use the blade a little bit to scrape up to get the foil started, so that's completely okay. And you're going to pull the capsule and put it in your apron. You know, you don't put this down on the table. So we're done with that part. Again, still holding this all in the same hand. You shouldn't have to be changing hands a lot. It's okay for you to use this, your other hand. There's no other real way to do it. So then you're going to put the corkscrew in, center it, and at an angle. And spin down to wherever, I mean, I don't like to say like 1/3 or 2/3. You know, if you've opened up enough wine, kind of where you feel like it's appropriate for you. You know, so I'm going to spin it up until the point where I feel like I can get a good, you know, leverage on the bottle. I use the double hinge because double hinge is the only way to go. You guys, single hinge, if you have a single hinge wine key, I'm guessing you're breaking a shit ton of corks because there's like, you need the leverage. If you start to see the cork bending and you're like, this is gonna crack, don't break the cork. Say to the customer, you know, I'm struggling a bit with the cork. If you don't mind, I'm just gonna step away. I'd rather you do that and save the cork or use another manager or a bartender to help you than just snap it, because as a customer, I think you'd be like, okay, they just need a little help. It's okay to kind of say, to actually step away from the table. But so if you start to see it bend, either remove the corkscrew and go back in at the proper angle. You can sometimes just fix what you've been doing, or pull back, you know, start